Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tuesday, May 14th meeting of the Smithfield Planning Commission. If you will join me in pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Claire, do you have a director's report?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I do not have any additional information at this time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
I had a question, and maybe Mr. Pack can chime in on this too, about the annexation. Is that a done deal? What's the status?
It's my understanding that it was going before the court at the end of June and would be effective the beginning of July.
Yeah, accurate.
Great, thank you. All right. List of upcoming meetings and activities there for your enjoyment. Item number 3, public comments. Do we have anyone signed up to speak? Okay.
The invisible
Hearing
man.
none, we will move forward. Planning Commission comments. Anything on your mind this evening?
The only thing I think I would bring up is I think the county has the transportation meeting with VDOT on Thursday.
night, yeah.
That there's enough stuff going on there that we might be interested, or if you're interested, to hear all their plans. But there's nothing in there at all about doing anything here on Route 10 and an on-ramp, off-ramp, or anything there, and all the stuff we talked about with the Grange, and should that be discussed with that committee or anything as well, with, you know, and getting it on their radar, even if not for short term, for longer term,
Right.
if it's an open meeting and discussion about things going on in the county.
Well, as far as our traffic, about 3 weeks ago, I came through town up South Church Street, and it was probably about 3:30. And the people that were waiting to turn onto Main Street, I mean, it was completely backed up. And then I turned onto Thomas to get to Grace, to get to my house. I was way backed up. My thought would be, is there any way that VDOT would entertain a motion entertain the idea of putting in a temporary stoplight at Berry Hill Road? Because Mr. Luter has long said that that's where everybody from the packing plant was supposed to go that way. Once the Grange started, this isn't even the Grange, but that was a thought. And it's not like it's too close to the one at Main Street.
I think it's a good suggestion. But I also follow on with, we had a workshop with VDOT a couple of months ago. And I was wondering, has any feedback come back from that? It was a couple of months ago. But they was asking for suggestions around that area, 10 and 258, Carey Street, Grace Street. They were asking for suggestions about that.
Mr. Brown, the only feedback we have from VDOT that I'm aware of is that they are trying to coordinate the Gray Street repaving. They asked town permission to move forward with that this year, and then after school lets out. And the town discussed and said yes. While we realize it's inconvenient with the Station Bridge or the Cypress Creek Bridge being closed, we're afraid that this project will never get completed. And, so yes, they're going to move forward with the Gray Street repaving. And then the VDOT is trying to coordinate the Route 10 intersection improvements at the conclusion of the Cypress Creek Bridge, so that we don't have two major congestion areas in town. So those were pushed back just slightly so that the project could coordinate that way.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Anything else from the Planning Commission? Item number 5 is a public hearing, special use permit regarding shipping containers at 219 Battery Park Road, Patriot Properties. John Sands is the applicant. Ms. Clary, do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you. The applicant is seeking approval to utilize the 5 existing shipping containers as accessory structures located at 219 Battery Park Road. Due to the recent changes in the zoning ordinance, a special use permit is required for these shipping containers located in the I-1 zoning district. The applicant has stated they are in the process of removing 3 of the shipping containers over the course of the next 6 months. It is unknown how long these shipping containers have been present on the property. However, approval of this special use permit would bring this property into compliance. The positives of the application is it does bring the property into compliance, as these are already existing shipping containers. The negative, it is not a by right use and does require a special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I would declare the public hearing officially open. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on this item? Thank you. Seeing no comments, I declare the public hearing officially closed. Planning Commission comments.
Madam Chairwoman, this is one of the properties we originally identified as potentially being grandfathered under this. Is there, I understand the property has changed hands of ownership as well. And this was never grandfathered by the previous owner. Is that correct?
Correct. This is one of the remaining applications that we're trying to bring into the full closure.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this item?
Well, the removal of the 2 that they want to get rid of can only improve upon what I'm seeing.
Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we grant the special use permit as permitted.
A favorable recommendation to Town Council.
Yes.
What she said. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the question, please.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Dr. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Yoko?
Yes.
Vice Chair Davison?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Hillegas?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was just FYI, I was curious. I was looking at the one of the slides presented, not in this particular application, but one concerning, well, it's coming up later on the agenda, those drop boxes for charitable donations. There was one, and it was the one at Supreme Station. The photograph looked awful. I mean, it was weed stuff all over around it and everything, like it was unkept. As I drove by, there seemed to be some improvement. Was something from your office directed toward them?
When we had taken the photograph, it was not in violation. So clearly they corrected it before it was a concern that we could take action on.
I mean, it just seemed like a lot of weeds and stuff in front of it, on the parking surface, all of that. So voluntarily, I guess they did it on their own.
That's our understanding.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Great, thanks. Item number 6, also a public hearing, SEO Article 3.R and Article 8. Ms. Clary, do you have a staff report?
Yes, thank you. At the direction of the Planning Commission, staff do propose adding the following language to Section G of Article 3, RJ3. This would be at the end. Improvements to existing gravel or other similar materials are permissible. However, the parcel is required to be in compliance and remain in compliance with the landscaping and paving requirements of this ordinance once improvements other than landscaping and interior renovation made during a rolling 5-year period constitute 50% or more of the structure's assessed value. We would also include similar language in Article 8B6A, where we would provide, except improvements to the existing gravel or other similar materials are permissible. However, the parcel is required to be in compliance and remain in compliance with the landscaping and paving requirements of this ordinance once improvements other than landscaping and interior renovation made during a rolling 5-year period constitute 50% or more of the structure's assessed value. And we would also include that for commercial and industrial uses under Section B for Article A. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is another public hearing item, so I will open the public hearing. Ms. Perry, do we have any speakers?
No.
Shockingly, again, we have no one speaking, so I will close the public hearing. Planning Commission comments on this item.
Madam Chairwoman, I would suggest that this language be added the way that we discussed, and I make a motion that we approve this as presented.
Second.
Favorable recommendation to Town Council, please.
Yes, move that we have a favorable recommendation to Town Council.
That's exactly what I heard him say. Very good. We have a motion and a second.
I second.
You did. We
Oh,
have,
you already had a
we've
second?
got all kinds of seconds. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
okay.
good. Thank you, though. Thank you for your enthusiasm, Mr. Brown. Call for the question, please.
Mr. Yoko?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Davidson?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Hilligas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7 is another public hearing, SEO Article 2.P.16 and 17. Ms. Clary, what's staff situation on that?
Yes, thank you. This was discussed last month at the Planning Commission meeting. We are including shipping containers for construction debris containers. This would be allowed for ongoing construction projects. We updated 16 and 17 to reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll officially open the public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up to speak? And we do not, so I will close the public hearing. Planning Commission comments on this item.
Again, Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept these as presented with a favorable recommendation to Town Council.
Thank you, sir.
He's teachable. I like it. We have a motion and a second.
I have a question,
Yes,
if I
sir.
may. On page 71, there is the added text. Containers are not permissible in any other zoning district except construction debris containers. Should language be added that something, they can only be exception construction debris containers after a permit is granted? I mean, ending it there is almost like a by right interpretation.
I don't think so,
Am I
because
missing anything here?
I think if you're getting an addition put on your house and the contractor has a building permit from the county, they're gonna pull a construction container as long as the trash container's permissible, as long as he has a building permit.
Mm-hmm.
So the building permit is your permit, so to speak. We're not requiring him to do anything extra in addition to that, if he's
Right.
following all the rules and regulations.
Does that make sense, Mr. Brown?
Well, when you read the sentence, shipping containers are not permissible in any other zoning district except construction debris containers.
This is to allow construction debris containers in the neighborhood residential or the suburban residential zoning districts where we do not allow the shipping containers in those, where there's not even a process for obtaining a special use permit in order to have those. However, if it is a shipping container for a construction debris container, then those would be allowed.
But
That's a
to get,
short-term situation.
but to get one, you need a permit, yes?
If it was under construction, correct.
What would happen, I don't think you need a building permit in order to put a roof on, but suppose somebody wants to bring in a debris container for that doesn't require a building permit.
They would still require a zoning waiver from the town.
And that's what I'm asking for. Seems like that should be added.
I had a roof put on, they're not gonna leave that container because they're gonna take all that stuff within a day or so and use it somewhere else. I mean, they
I'm
don't
just
have,
trying to think of
they
an
don't
activity.
have an infinite supply of containers.
But I'm just thinking of an activity that's not going to require a building permit because it's not structural.
Any other discussion?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. Ready for the question?
Dr. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Yoko?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chair Davidson?
Yes,
And Chairwoman Hillegas?
Yes. Moving right along. Item number 8 is yet another public hearing. SEO Article 10. Ms. Clary, what say you about this?
Yes, thank you. Just some items post our discussion item from last month. We did replace internal illumination with a white light, and then we also added clarifying language excluding temporary personal expression signs from the 10 feet out of the right-of-way requirement, but still requiring them to be located out of the right-of-way. The following changes were discussed last month as well, and staff also recommends that for number 8, we state that non-conforming signs cannot be refaced and must be replaced and brought into compliance with this article unless approved on a case-by-case basis by a waiver of the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers on this item? No, we don't. Okay, public hearing is officially closed. Planning Commission comments on this item.
This is the one where it's stated that there's a statement in here that says prevents window signage from being illuminated. I think on page, and it is a bullet here on page 93. From being internally or externally illuminated. When we go to page, I believe it's page 97. It's not so much here.
It's page 100, Mr. Brown, I
100?
believe. 100, yes, sir, I believe is what you're talking about.
Let me try that one. Signs, illuminated. Signs, case. Yes, my point, what I'm getting at here is, it says not illuminated, internally or externally. But there are statements in here where we remove the word illuminated, but it leaves the word neon. And it's my understanding, neon lights are lit. All right, is there some distinction here that I'm missing?
Neon is on page
110. It's on
110.
page 110, 4C. And C says illuminated neon or painted signs located in, on windows shall be included in the computation of sign area. A neon light is a light that emits light. I mean, it's a neon sign, it emits light. What's the distinction here that we leave neon in?
I think this is talking about a sign that is on the side of a building or maybe hanging underneath of an overhang, but it's not in the window, is the way I would interpret this. Well, it says located in or on windows.
We can remove neon as well.
I'm just trying to understand the distinction.
We're really focused on the words on the window sign, particularly at the vape shops that advertise what they're selling, is what we were focused on when we were eliminating the illumination aspect of it.
Doesn't this also include Food Lion and Chuck Roast is on sale for $6.99 poster they stick in the window as well?
But that's not illuminated.
No, it's not illuminated, but
For the 10%
But it
piece.
does take
But
up
the-
that,
yes.
yeah, you're right.
it takes up that window space. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna eliminate illuminated sign, I think neon needs to come out of there.
It's in 3 locations in the document.
Yes. It's in 4C, 5C, and 6C.
Is that your pleasure, eliminate neon?
I'm okay with that.
Everybody else okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But back to, there was the other one, should not be illuminated. Internal illumination, less opaque. Yes. 97, I know why I want to put a 97 now. I believe I know why. Just going through my notes here. Yes. In 2, on 97 and 2, there at the bottom where it says internal illumination, artificial light originating from within the sign itself. Then you have those 2 statements, opaque, not transparent and unable to see through, when measured in percentage, 100%. And then it says opaqueness is required. Should that be a bullet under that internal illumination requirement?
Those are just definitions. That's a separate definition
That's a definition.
of opaque, yes. It's how I-
But then it says,
Correct.
when measured in percentage, 100% opaqueness is required.
So there's no transparency
Yes,
to this one.
okay, it just sounded like instruction there, or requirement. Okay, but you're saying that's just a definition? Okay, all right, I'm good with it.
Okay. Any further discussion on this item? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I recommend that we send this to Town Council with a recommendation for approval as presented,
Under the condition that the 3
under the
neon-
condition that 3 neons are removed, yes.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Ready for the question?
Mr. Yoko?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes,
Dr. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Vice Chair Davison?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Hillegas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9 is another public hearing that no one's here to hear. Regarding SCO Article 2.V.14 and Article 11.I.4. Ms. Clary, what say you?
Yes, thank you. At the request of the Planning Commission, we are proposing to repeal these 2 sections of the zoning ordinance. This was requiring an extra 25-foot buffer in addition to the 100-foot RPA buffer that's already required. This would eliminate those 2 out of the zoning ordinance and allow applicants to build up to the 100-foot buffer, but not encroach into the 100-foot RPA buffer. Thank you.
Thank you. Declare this public hearing officially open. Do we have anyone signed up for this one? No. Okay, public hearing is officially closed. Planning Commission, what have you to say about this?
well, I'll start it off if I may.
Of course.
This came up, this originated in our last meeting. Is that correct? What was the motivation for that? Why the origin? Why did this come up in the first place?
Staff brought it to the Planning Commission as a discussion item because we wanted to make sure that both Article 2 and Article 11 aligned, requiring that extra 25-foot buffer in addition to the 100-foot buffer. At that meeting, it was the will of the Planning Commission that we were going to remove that extra requirement.
Thank you. And I knew there was reasoning why we wanted to eliminate this, and it was because 25 feet was an awful lot to ask of a property owner to avoid the RPA.
That would be in addition to the already 100-foot RPA buffer. We believe the reasoning behind it was to allow sufficient room for accessory structures. Once the applicant constructed their single-family dwelling, that would give them an extra 25 feet where they wouldn't build their house directly into the 100-foot RPA, and then we would have to tell them, no, they can't have any other accessory structures.
Okay. I'm not a lawyer. Attorney Riddick is missing tonight. I'm concerned by taking all of this text out. I mean, because I can see someone is going to build right up to that line, that RPA line. And what protection would the town have? Would they have liability if an owner inadvertently went into that RPA line? I mean, we required it.
So when we require site plans that have that 100-foot RPA delineated, and that's the proposed structure is not allowed to encroach into that area.
Understood. But there was an application that had some of the same issues with it a few months back, where
Smithfield Boulevard.
yes, we had the applicant come back a second time because of a similar concern, and we wanted to protect the applicant from himself. And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, if we give applicants, all applicants, property owners, 0, some is probably going to try to use everything up and go to that line.
So the Smithfield Boulevard was a pre-Bay dated subdivided lot, so they were allowed to encroach into that 50-foot. These new lots, for example, Mallory, Cypress Creek Phase 6, they're not afforded that opportunity. They do not qualify for a Chesapeake Bay exception to encroach that, so they would not be allowed to encroach past that 100-foot RPA.
Exactly. Why wouldn't we provide some protection and reduce the 25 foot from 25 foot to say 4 to 6 feet? Why wouldn't we do that?
Well, Mr. Bryan, the thought here, at least in my mind, is that the architect and the builder need to understand what the RPA is about, and most truthfully do. For us as a town to put additional restrictions on top of what the state already has placed did not seem prudent to me. You know, if they know they want to have a swimming pool, don't build your house on the 100-foot line. There are no exceptions to go inside the RPA. We're not trying to make any additional. It is the onus of the homeowner. If they do that, well, we can't protect everybody from everything. But if somebody wants to build their home, and I've heard of folks building in Cypress Creek that really wanted to back their home all the way up to the RPA line because they bought a waterfront property. They want to be as close and see as they can, and that is their right. I don't believe that it's right of the town to put the additional onus of 25 foot just because we're trying to protect people from themselves. But that was just my opinion.
Yes. But from 25 feet, reducing it down to 4 feet, 2 feet, would that be acceptable?
But that's arbitrary. I mean, somebody's going to build right up to the line no matter where you put the line.
So we shouldn't provide any relief. The town should not provide any relief.
Well, it's not relief.
We're
It's
providing
additional
relief by
restriction.
getting rid of the additional 25 feet.
It's just interesting to take out this whole requirement here regarding the RPA. And then how are we showing, in the spirit of the Chesapeake Preservation Act, how are we showing the town support to respect those lines?
By enforcing the 100-foot
Enforcing
RPA.
100 foot.
Okay.
You can't protect people against themselves. I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bryan, if somebody were to come to us and they built right up to the 100-foot line and says, man, I really want to put a deck off the back of my house, we don't even have the ability to make that exception.
No, we don't.
We do
Understood.
not.
Understood. Okay. Well, we're just concerned. I'm just concerned about taking that out completely.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Other discussion on this item? Ready for the question? Or do we have a motion?
We don't.
We have a motion.
No, please. Please, it's all you.
I don't know how to say it, you've said it so well. Yeah, I make a motion that we recommend to council,
Favorably recommend.
favorably recommend, as written.
Very good, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the question, please.
Dr. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Yoko?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Davison?
Yes,
And Chairwoman Hilliard?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Item 10 is discussion item about donation boxes throughout the town. You have staff report.
Yes, thank you. At the Tuesday, April 9th Planning Commission meeting, staff was tasked with identifying potential regulations for donation boxes. Research identified 3 methods for donation box regulation: code enforcement, as accessory structures, and donation bin specific. We propose the following definition of a donation box: any container, storage unit, or unoccupied unit other than an accessory building or structure that is located outside of a building intended or used for the holding of charitable or for-profit donation items by the general public, including but not limited to clothing, shoes, household items, toys, books, and newspapers, with the collection of donated items made at a later date or time. This term shall not include solid waste facilities, recycling bins, or similar receptacles. We're also proposing Article 2P18 that would provide the following standards and procedures. They should not be allowed in a residential, agricultural, except on properties where a special use permit exists for religious worship or assembly. They're permitted only on properties that contain a primary permitted use. Number 3, they shall be separated by a distance of at least 500 feet. The highlighted sections are for Planning Commission discussion. They are subject to the issuance of a zoning permit upon authorization of the property owner. They shall not obstruct pedestrian or vehicular circulation, nor be located in public right-of-ways, required building setbacks, landscape areas, drive aisles, required parking spaces, fire lanes, loading zones, buffers, or any other location that could be hazardous. They shall have a firmly closing lid and shall have a capacity of proposed 6 cubic yards and not exceed 7 feet in height. They may be constructed of painted metal, rubber, wood, plastic, and shall be properly maintained. Clearly marked to identify the items, and it goes on what shall not be included. The occupation of parking spaces shall not reduce the number of available parking spaces below that minimum required for the site. And then all donated items must be collected and stored in the donation drop-off box, not left outside the area, and it needs to be maintained. These are items that we pulled from other localities. We also included Leesburg's ordinance, and along with a presentation from Colonial Heights that we found as well. We do have that remaining discussion on potentially limiting the number, and then the size, the footprint, the height, if you want to dictate the material, and if you want to provide a separation between donation boxes and a pathway for exceptions. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. What are your feelings on this?
Let's take these one at a time.
Okay,
I think it's pretty well written. The separated by a distance of at least 500 feet. I think that also could be coupled with limit the number of how many you could have, because one of our picture right here is of DAV, and they have 2 side by side. They're not 500 feet apart, but we also see over at True Value, I know they have the Lions Club and whatever the red one is, I'm not sure what that is. So my thought is, I don't know that we need to separate them by 500 feet, because the DAV, that helps them with their donations to get from being laid on the ground. Because although we're going to put in here and I like the part that says they had to be kept orderly and neat. Well, the guy dropping off the clothes, the box of clothes, because his wife told him to get them out, and it's full, probably is just gonna drop them by there and go on about his business. So having two of them at least helps with that. So I don't think they need to be separated by 500 feet. And then having a limit of two per area, that's probably good. Unless you're looking at something like the True Value one, where I could see that the Lions Club and there are 2 or 3 there, and the Littles are giving them an area where, hey, we're okay to take donations here. So one thing I would like to see added to this is in item 11, something about that allows a special use permit to make any of these exceptions go away. You know, if somebody wanted to make one out of a particular thing, or they wanted 3 or 4, that we would have a mechanism for unforeseen circumstances. So I think what I would say is, rather than separating by a distance of 500 feet, we can limit the number to 2, and I'm okay with that. But then have a mechanism that if they needed more, there's a mechanism for them to apply for it, and we can take it with a special use permit on a case-by-case basis.
So then that would kick DAV out of compliance, right, because they have 3.
Do they have 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, then we can make 3. I'm okay with 3.
Theirs are very well maintained.
They are.
They are.
And
Yeah.
they're in a covered area, so the husbands can drop it off outside the box on a rainy Sunday night.
Right.
That's adding a line 11.
Yes.
Yeah, line 11 would be to have a special use permit that allows exceptions to these as needed, because we haven't thought of it yet.
Because there's some places I know, like at the CHKD thrift store, if they're not open, people will just leave stuff on the sidewalk, and it's just there. They don't have them up.
Yeah, well,
Their collection is in the back.
the good thing
Yeah.
about DAV is it is a manned store. So if something's dropped off, it's generally picked up pretty quickly by staff. So, you know, having that ordinance in there is good, and you can't stop everything, but that certainly helps. Actually, all these locations are manned pretty well.
Okay, so we're ditching the 500 feet, not more than 3 per location. How about?
3.
She said 3.
Oh,
Three.
you
She
did
said
say
3,
six.
yes.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
How about the issue of capacity, 6 cubic yards, nothing taller than 7 feet?
I'm okay with
I was
that.
just gonna say, is it 3 or a total capacity? Because you want.
Each donation box.
Right, well, that's what I was gonna say, do you want 3 little boxes, or, I'm going back, and I can't remember what's behind, back by Bayport and whatever behind there for the CHKD one right now. I can't remember if there's a Connex box, that's what I was trying to remember. They used to have a Connex box back there. I don't know what they've got back there now. And it may be a roll-off dumpster now that they're using for getting rid of the stuff that they can't sell or whatever, but.
Sure, it's a construction debris container.
That's what I was just gonna say.
I'm sure that's what it's temporary.
And if I may, I'd like to add one other condition.
Yes, sir.
If you look at page 207, this is the Chesterfield County, looking at their ordinance and how they handle these things. In G, Ben is located no closer than 100 feet from any adjacent property occupied by a residential use. I think I would like that added as well. I don't think anyone want one of these right up next to their home.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be 100 feet, it can be 50 feet.
So just to clarify, the item, I believe it was 5 or 6, we do not permit them in required setbacks. And so that would keep them, that would essentially almost probably bring all of our donation boxes besides the DAV, they are non-conforming, because more than likely they are located in setbacks. For example, the Taco Bell one would be in the front setback of of the shopping center. Burger King, I believe, is located in that last parking space, which is at the rear corner of the property, which is still located in the setback. The Supreme gas station one is on the far left side of the property, still located in the setback. Same thing with the ones on Main Street, right there by the ice cream shop and the True Value.
Say that again, please. Item 6.
Yep, I'm just, sorry,
Or
I'm
number
getting
6.
back to the bullet points. It was, I'm sorry, item 5, where it's, they cannot be located in required building setbacks.
But maybe we remove that requirement?
It depends on how the planning commission wants to regulate donation boxes. If you really want to take a heavy hand and make it difficult to permit these donation boxes, then we would keep it there. If you want to take a more favorable stance to donation boxes, then that would make it a little more lenient.
I think they should all require a special use permit and be able to say where they're putting it on the property. I mean, just sticking it out in the middle of the random parking lot is not ideal to me. They
Right.
should be tucked up next to a fence, next to the building. They should be, I won't say disguised, but they should be not so in your face either.
Well, maybe rather than making a special use permit, that they have to be permitted, and part of the permitting is they tell us where it goes. I'm just trying to avoid that special use permit. Special use permit fee is like
I mean,
$400 or something like that.
I'm not sure I really care if it's back in the back corner of Burger King next to the shed that Pizza Hut uses. It's all the same sort of thing, but
As long as it's maintained,
as
that's.
long as it's maintained and kept and it's, I don't care if it's in that setback or not, but I think all of these are on a case-by-case basis because it depends on the property, where they're putting it and what's going on with it.
Yeah, your problem there is I'm going to guess a number of these are not owned by the property owner.
Right.
So now you're putting a burden on the property owner for allowing a charitable organization to use their property. And
Well, the
who's going to do
church,
the application? Is it going to be the box owner or the property owner? Who's going to get saddled with the enforcement?
the box owner should come before us.
The box owner should get the permit, yeah.
Can the
And say
box
they have
owner
permission to
apply
do it.
for a permit on somebody else's property?
With
They
their
have to have
permission.
Yeah, permission.
They gotta, assuming they would come with a letter of permission or,
Yes, I would think they would require the property owner's permission to begin with.
Number
at
4
first, yes.
requires the property owner authorization.
Okay, so number 4 says donation drop-off boxes are subject to the issuance of a zoning permit. Okay, so Tom, maybe that covers, and part of that zoning permit is where they put this donation box so that we can look at it that way. So you're right, so it doesn't,
We don't look at it, you look at it.
correct administratively, yes.
Okay. So there's not,
So that's the question, Tom. Do you want to look at it, or are you happy if town staff looks at it?
I don't know, I mean, to me, this is a Connex box in disguise.
can be,
But, and so, I mean, I think we should look at it. I think we should be the ones, I'll say we as the commission, and/or if it goes to the town council or not, are the ones that have to ride around and look at this. And I think we should be the ones that make the decision on, are we going to allow it at this location and take responsibility for it?
So what level gets it to us, but not town council, or do you want town council to look at it too?
I don't think they want to look
I
at
think this is a functional planning commission.
We could do something, off the top of my head, donation boxes are not allowed unless a planning commission waiver, which would get it out of the special use arena, and it would force it to come to planning commission.
I'm okay with that.
it.
I'm okay with whatever you're proposing, Tom, or what you're proposing.
Well, I mean, I just think we
Just
should
how we get
look
that
at it,
mechanism.
and then if they're
Yeah.
not staying in compliance, we should be able to revoke the permit to allow them to force them into some sort of removal of the unit if they're not going to maintain it. But I feel like a truck is riding around town saying, can I put a donation box here? Yes, and they drop it off and run away. But I think there's a need for these boxes. I think they need to be a little bit maintained, kept up, put in a place that makes sense.
But that's on a case-by-case basis, don't you think?
For me, I think it's a case-by-case basis. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, it might be burdensome to see these every month, but I think that's our responsibility and our job.
Okay.
We're trying to hold the town to a certain aesthetic. And I think this is the aesthetic that is there.
Okay. How about capacity and height?
I'm fine with the DAV capacity for me, whatever that box shall be.
I don't think I'd want it bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's less than 6 feet tall?
I don't know what the dimensions are of
No,
that.
I
I'm sure
thought I
it's
saw a
less than
condition.
7, yeah.
I was
I
gonna
thought it was.
It's
conditioned.
pushing 7 on that door.
definitely pushing 7.
Yeah, nothing bigger than that. All right, how about construction of boxes?
I'm okay with the way it was presented to us.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, you good with that? Painted metal, rubber, wood, or plastic? Okay.
Yeah, fiberglass, I guess, falls in plastic and whatever. I was thinking.
Do we, well, we can add fiberglass, that's fair.
Well, I mean, fiberglass is a form of plastic, so, I mean, it's, I would just,
I was concerned about rubber. I was trying to think of something constructed out of rubber. What is that?
yeah,
How does that work?
A room.
I'm gonna say, constructed of suitable material capable of
Yeah.
being properly maintained, safekeeping, you know.
Brick for me.
Yeah. In a colonial style.
I'm getting on that boat. There we go. Only brick donation drop boxes. Yes.
Like you've all gone to the Big Joe School of Architecture.
I mean, again, I think that's going to be a case-by-case basis. What are you bringing to us? Where are you putting it? What's going
Right.
on? Is this acceptable? Yes, we might give them a guidance of saying, hey, keep this as metal.
And that's why, yeah, I was
Yeah,
saying
wood
of
plank.
suitable material to be properly maintained and kept in good condition
Right.
or whatever.
Okay. Everybody good with the rest of the points there? So we will bring this back next month? Do we have to have a public hearing?
Yes, this was just as a discussion item. Just for clarification, we're going to create a mechanism via a planning commission waiver for approval of these donation boxes. They will be limited to 3 per location, not bigger than the capacity of the DAV, not taller than, which we will attempt to figure out, not taller than 7 feet, a requirement of at least 100 feet from residential districts, and item 7, maybe do some sort of painted metal, plastic, or other suitable material.
Yeah, I think that's.
And then a perhaps an 11 that says, that allows for a special use for whatever we missed.
Yes, and again, that limiting the distance between a residential unit, it doesn't have to be 100 feet. It could be 50 feet as far as I'm concerned, but it should not be right up to.
I think 100's fair.
You think?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sure.
I think that's a good number, actually.
Okay,
You good with that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
Would they still need to, if the planning commission is still approving it via a waiver, I don't know that a special use permit would still be required if they weren't in conformance, but I can certainly include that. I'll just double check with Bill and see what we have to do.
Yeah, if that's not the correct mechanism, my thought process there is just say, if we've forgotten something here, I don't want this so ironclad that there's not an opportunity without changing this ordinance. That's all that my intention is. If it was a special use permit or it can be done with a waiver, I'm okay with either.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever mechanism is most appropriate.
Right.
Okay. We holding off on these, typically next item is minutes.
I did not get any comments from him, but I'm more than happy if you want to defer.
Okay, we typically defer when Mr. Riddick is not with us on minutes, unless anybody has a problem with that. Anything else for the good of the cause? Thank you for your time. We are adjourned.
Steven?